There we go. Were you about to say something? Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the Smash B podcast, which you were on once before, but I don't think I actually ever got around to editing it.
Yeah, I know you uploaded it via Facebook the last time I did it, and it involved a lot more rambling and drinking than I think this will.
Which you don't do anymore. Now, you didn't have, as far as I know, that come to Jesus moment of like hitting rock bottom when you were drinking too much and you like slammed into a tree or took out a family of kittens. You just decided it was best for you to not drink anymore?
I think it was a culmination of a lot of things. Like, I don't know, have you ever had those moments where you're like sitting and drinking, and at least me personally, I've always had like alcohol as a part of my self-medicating habits, not realizing that I had a bunch of trauma as a kid. I've been self-medicating since I was 14 or 15.
With alcohol or?
Alcohol, drugs,
okay.
This and that. And I've been drinking since I was like 14 or 15. I think the first time I had a drink was at 14. So every now and then, I don't know if this is your experience at all, but would drink and then like in being drunk and being by myself at home, like have those moments where you're like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Or like, am I happy or am I actually not happy? And a combination of those over the years of like that while intoxicated or just depressed in general, like trying to avoid those feelings, and meeting my girlfriend who had acknowledged that she had a problem, and she was probably the first person in my life that openly acknowledged like I have a drinking problem, and spending time with her and her like having a firm boundary of I don't want to spend time with you when like if you're drunk, or I don't want to spend time around people that are drunk, because she had just given up drinking and it was really hard for her. And she asked me one day, like, do you feel like you have a problem? And up until that point, my answer was always undeniably no. Like, I do not have a problem. Everything's fine. And when she asked me that, it was just kind of like, do I actually have a problem? Like, what is going on here? Like, why would she ask that? And it just kind of spiraled into this mindset of like, I think I have to look at this in a different way. And that kind of turned into like, one, is this something that I can do for myself? And then that turned into like a personal challenge that I didn't tell anybody about, that I literally just decided one day, like, I wonder if I'm able to stop drinking, just like cold turkey, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. Yeah. Because I think it'd been a couple of years for me without, I mean, I know for a fact it'd been a couple of years for me for not having gone a day without drinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Years without going. Okay. But it wasn't always to inebriation.
No, it was like having a glass of wine or like a beer.
Okay. Yeah. Which most people would say is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is how I rationalized in my own brain of like, I get home from a long day of work, and instead of wanting to drink water, soda, whatever, like I had enjoyed beer until I started developing like weird hangovers, where I would have a single beer and felt like I drank a bottle of tequila.
Really? Because you weren't also taking in water.
Well, I mean that too, and I feel like it was the developing of early onset gluten intolerance. Oh yeah. Not that I could call it early onset. I think I've had gluten intolerance for a good portion of my life. My aunt has celiacs, and it really set in her late 20s. And I always had like a meager appetite growing up, and I never really understood why. And it was like, I would stop eating because I felt sick, but I just thought that was the feeling of full. Like I never people would talk about like, oh, I'm so full, and then keep eating, and I was like, I don't know, how do you do that? Like, what does that entail?
I'm surviving right now.
Yeah, I would like eat and then get full, and then physically have to like put food aside.
Yeah.
And I think that was just manifestations of some kind of, I don't know if I have celiacs, but allergy to either lactose or gluten.
Okay.
And so,
but weird hangovers nonetheless.
Yeah, I would have like, I mean, I also would have fucking Jack in the Box every other day because I lived by myself and didn't want to cook. This was after moving out of Monterey back to this area and trying to become a GM. I like started living on my own for the first time. Up until that point, I could never afford to live on my own. I always had like 3, 4, 5 roommates, and just didn't know how to cook for myself. And I would like get up halfway through the night and like go throw up and feel awful after having a beer and like fast food.
Yeah.
And so after a while, was just kind of at that point where I was like, can I do this? Am I able to do this? And is this something that I want? And then it turned into a stalwart, like, I'm just going to fucking do this. Like, I don't care. Like, I feel better. It's now a challenge for myself. And it's been over a year now since the last time I had a drink. And don't know how I feel about it now, but I definitely notice a lot more significant changes in my life from stopping drinking. But I will say that I miss it.
You miss it?
Yeah.
You miss the occasional drink?
Oh, I miss drinking all the time.
Oh, okay.
Like going somewhere with friends or like even doing this, just that comfort of having a drink or like comfort of having that act of drinking. As that like slight numbing or, like I said, self-medicating. I have high anxiety and it helped cut that anxiety by a lot.
Yeah.
Makes it less stressful. And like you don't realize how quickly it is to jump to that feeling. And like how much of a buffer it is for you once you start doing it all the time until you're not doing it and you're like, oh, I'm really anxious right now and I don't know why. So
so I'm doing Sober October, which is initially it's no alcohol, and then the rules that I was just reading were, well, not just reading, but like last week somebody pointed out to me, it's you can have non-mixed drinks, so just straight alcohol, only in like social situations, only like rarely, like once a week. So like your friends go out to the bar on Friday night, you can get like and it's supposed to be only one. Yeah. So, which is fine for me because I'm a tequila guy and you don't do the slam back that everybody does.
Well, I mean, if you do it right.
Well, yeah, if you get good tequila, like I've had bad tequila, and yeah, I would want to shoot it just to get it out of your face. But good tequila, you sip throughout the night, so one drink is good enough. But yeah, it's a weird, you invite somebody out or you're out at dinner and get a glass of wine or let's get a beer, let's get a cocktail. It's more of a social thing for me. I don't miss the inebriation itself.
Yeah.
But I do miss the social construct that comes with it.
Yeah, that is well put. And I don't miss being intoxicated. Like I used to smoke weed all the time. And sometimes I miss the act of smoking, but I don't actually like being high. Yeah. Like I don't like being stoned. And to go back to everything, I am in no way condoning sobriety and like not drinking. Like to each their own, whoever is doing what they want.
Just like handle your high.
I mean, even if you don't, I'm probably just not going to spend time with you. Like you're welcome to do whatever you want with your life. I understand the appeal of doing that and self-medicating or even just having fun with friends. Like sometimes I miss just having fun with friends and having a drink, but just not where I'm at right now in this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about slipping back into the old habits. So I haven't picked drinking back up again because I know how easy it is to be like, I'll just have one drink. 6 drinks later, you're like, huh.
Yeah. I see my drinking problem resides around my logical brain and my actions do not connect. For instance, and this is just a example, but it's happened more than once, where I will be drunk and I will tell myself, you need to stop drinking. You need to stop taking alcohol. And then somebody will offer to buy me a drink. What are you drinking? It's not, do you want another? It's what are you drinking? And so I tell them, and then all of a sudden it's there. And my hand is tipping it back in my mouth, and my brain is going, you idiot, you know what you're about to do?
Yeah.
And so I realize that's a part of drinking for me. So I tell myself never to get to that point. Have one drink, and then if I have the second drink, okay, this is definitely pushing it. This is the end.
Nice.
And so I know it's easier for me to say that and do that when I'm out in public. When I'm at home drinking, the logical side kind of takes a back step because, you know, it's not like I have to drive anywhere.
Yeah.
I usually only have parties when I don't have an obligation the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm allowing myself that more freedom, but at the same time, I'm more cautious of people getting too drunk at my house. So I turn into the mother hen of like, are you safe to drive? I don't have to drive for another 6 hours, and I barely had a thimble of like wine. So, yeah.
No, I totally get that. And good on you, like, you know, just being able to recognize at that point, where like, I'm telling myself, I'm not going to have this other drink, and then you've already had a couple to the point where like social pressure is just, here, have a drink, I got it for you.
Yeah.
It's so okay, thanks, and I would be like, ooh, you bought me a drink, I'm not having any more, actually. Yeah. You can go give that to someone else.
Well, it's funny because I've gone to an all-expensive paid resort where the alcohol is included in the expense. Mm-hmm. And it's easier for me to, if somebody offers me a drink, say no thank you, because I know it didn't cost them any money.
Yeah.
And so there was one time where I was drunk at a pool, and I did have that voice of like, you cannot have any more alcohol or you were going to vomit all over yourself. Somebody gave me a shot of tequila in a group, and I went, just threw it over my shoulder because it's clear and it's going to go in the wall. And somebody saw me, they just went, and I was like,
I was so hoping for you to get away with that too.
I have in years past where I would just throw it over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And nobody was the wiser, but yeah.
No, I was going to say most times, depending on the time of the night, you can get away with being like, woo! Or be like, I'm going to take it in a minute, and then just, and nobody will notice.
Yeah.
Which is smart if you're not trying to rock the boat or like upset people, because I used to be one of those people that if you didn't take my drink, I would get personally offended. I'd be like, well, what the fuck? I buy you a drink, we're out here drinking, like, what are you doing?
I think you're a bad person. I'm going to drink the alcohol you paid for.
So, yeah, I get that, and it's easy to kind of get into that mode too, where it can be offensive. You're like, well, when I was away, I thought you liked this sort of thing, and just be like, well, I guess it's good enough. But
I just wanted to make sure it's recording. I'm paranoid. I did that once before. I did a podcast, and I was like, okay, everybody, and we're not recording. Yeah. So going back to what you had said about you had never admitted you had a drinking problem until your girlfriend had asked you. Do you think it was the freedom to say that because she admitted she had a problem? Almost as if like, I have a problem. Do you think you have a problem? And because she was able to open up in that way and be vulnerable, it allowed you the freedom to say, you know what, maybe I do, as opposed to somebody that thinks that hasn't come out and said it.
No, and if my girlfriend were here, she would get frustrated, because I went from not admitting I had a problem to stopping drinking to then going, I had a problem, I no longer have a problem. Mm-hmm. Like, I stopped drinking, thus ending the problem.
Yeah.
So up until very recently, I don't think I even ever admitted that I had a problem. I was just like, I'm going to stop drinking because this is what I want and this is what's better for me and I can do it. And like even to this day, I don't know why I'm explaining it onto a video where everyone can look at it and be like, this is what happened. But yeah, no, I don't think I would have comfortably told people that, yeah, I had a drinking problem. It took me a long time to like acknowledge that to other people. I think because it took me a long time to acknowledge that to myself. It was always one of those like secret thoughts that never really quite escaped. And then once I had stopped the drinking, it was enough to kind of let it fester enough to be like, maybe what's going on there, or like reflecting back on situations that were not ideal.
Yeah.
I was able to be like, I may have overdone it there. Whereas before, just that like secret guilt and shame of like, I got really drunk and did something foolish. So, yes and no. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. One of those does at least.
So I will say it was nice. She's probably, like I said, the first person that openly admitted that I had spent time with and actually cared about that had a drinking problem. Because you hear other people be like, yeah, I know someone that has a drinking problem, or I know someone that had a drinking problem. But to me, it was all just like, I don't know that person, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, the age. We're coming to the age where people have been drinking for a little bit of time to where they can establish, I do have a drinking problem. It's, you know, if a 21-year-old comes out and says, I have a drinking problem, it's like, well, when did you start? March. Okay? So you don't have a lot of room to gauge. And there's not a lot of room to establish your drinking habits. You know, if a 22-year-old doesn't go to work because they woke up with a hangover, it's a little bit more understandable, at least, than if a 35-year-old calls in. Like, you know what alcohol does to you. So,
I mean, I guess given on your background, yeah. Like I said, I've been drinking for a long time.
There's that.
So by 22, to me, an excuse not to show up to work because you were hungover is not an excuse at all. Like, there were days when I had gone to work when I was working out in Monterey that I was just completely miserably hungover, like to the point where I barely functioned that day. And I still went, and to me that was because, like, you're hungover, you're not sick, you're going to work.
You contributed to your problem. Yeah.
So, to someone who started drinking at 21, yeah, I'll give them a little bit of a leeway and be like, okay, that was dumb. We're not going to do that again now, are we? But, yeah, I guess it depends on your history with drinking and whatnot, because I know a couple of people that started drinking at 21, but for the most part, my friend group and I were drinking way before that. With my dad being an alcoholic, he would just feed my friends booze as they came over. Like, literally get up and be like, what can I make you? And then bring them a tall glass of whatever.
Wow. Generous.
It's one way to put it.
Yeah.
It's one way to put it.
Have you noticed that since drinking, your finances are in better shape?
It's a hard correlation.
Okay.
Because I got the job being a general manager, and my financial situation increased to the point of like stability where I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I stopped keeping track.
Okay.
And then since then have had other life obligations and like am doing other fun things that I spend equal amounts of money on.
That's what I was going to get to, yeah.
So it's not like I've noticed a dip or an increase in my finances, mainly just because I know how to spend money real well.
I think everybody knows how to spend money real well. It's the saving that's the hard part.
The saving is definitely where I struggle a bit. But, yeah, I mean, I would go out to a bar and be spending like $40, $50 a night on booze. If I went out with a bunch of friends, spending like $80 to $200 a night on booze.
Just yourself?
No, for everybody. I was the person that would buy everyone drinks and have a bar tab.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, it's it's challenging for me because I have this group, a men's group that I do every week.
You've explained it slightly to me.
In fact, we just did a general meeting, and I could get into that later, but of usually around 80 guys. This time it was around 40 because people are traveling and whatnot. We try to not consume. Their general rule, it sounds like, is to try not to consume any intoxicants before the meeting. And so we're just trying to come up with a team activity that we can do. And it adds a challenge of, instead of just like going out to a bar or going out to a restaurant, something where there's going to be alcohol and people are going to want to drink.
Yeah.
But you think about like go-karting. It's like $30 a person. Well, if we go out drinking for, say, 4 hours, it's probably going to be your bar tab. So it kind of makes sense, go-karting or we were looking at other things, ropes courses, things like that.
Ropes courses around this area? Or?
Well, in the Redwoods, Santa Cruz, Hills, area like that.
Down by where Kenneth works?
Yes. Or there's this place that my friend just did on Snapchat, like I saw, and it's called Break Stuff. It's literally a room. You go in, you pay for package, and like the package comes with like 5 small things, 2 medium things, or they've got one that's called the Breakup, and it's just $360, and they said like you're just gonna have a fun time. And so and some of them you bring in your own stuff. And so I'm imagining, like, after a breakup, which we've both been through because we're at that age, there are some things that you probably just want to smash. And you can bring it in with a sledgehammer and maybe the safety goggles and the thing, and you just smash it. And I was like, what a fun idea for a group of guys to just go ballistic in a room.
I like the idea. Existentially, it makes me cringe a little bit.
There's a danger factor there.
Not even the danger factor. Like, don't get me wrong. As a kid, I fucking broke everything, like to a T. My parents knew that if they bought me a new toy or anything, it would be broken within a day. Mm-hmm. But what makes me cringe is that whole like the excitement behind that male stigma of releasing energy equals physical breaking of things or anger or frustration. Mm-hmm. And I totally understand the appeal. And as soon as you said it, I was like, I feel like I should check that place out. But I also don't like being that guy that when he gets frustrated, feels the need to break things or like wants to break things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is a slippery slope, especially because as I do get really angry nowadays, which doesn't happen very often anymore, but like that's my go-to itch where like I feel like I just need to break something or hit something. And I've never hit anything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just that stigma of the adult male having certain set emotions, many of which are anger and frustration and yelling or breaking things because they're emotionally overwhelmed. Is makes me cringe a little bit.
Well, see, I fully understand that. Let me validate that feeling. But for one, my friend who went was female.
Nice.
To me, I've never been a violent, smashy person.
Yeah.
During my breakup, I smashed 2 pictures. I felt guilty instantly, but to me, it wasn't like, I'm so angry I need to smash something. It was, I've been told when you're this angry, you smash something. So I'm going to smash something and see if it makes me feel better. And I threw some pictures across the room and I went, no. And I walked out the door. But it was, to me, it seems like a nice place to cut loose.
Yeah,
like,
no, I agree with that.
If you're always restraining that urge to break something, it might be good to go to a place where they say, now you can go through and do that. Yeah. So it's almost reverse toxic masculinity in the form that you were talking about, where you're told to break things. I'm thinking of it as more of a, we encourage you to break things.
Yeah.
That men's group that I went to, it's so interesting because I recently had some people go, and I was explaining to somebody I was driving them home, asking them how they felt about the group, and I just don't. Maybe I'm missing what the point is, and so I went in. The point for me is, as a society, we tell men like, you're not supposed to be feeling vulnerable. You're not supposed to be afraid. You're not supposed to feel any of these things. And if you do, you're less than a man.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have a group of men that get together and say, we encourage you to be honest about how you feel about stuff. This is an open place. It's confidential. Yeah. You can just talk and just whatever's on your mind. Good, bad, angry. We had one guy, he was in the middle of the big group, and somebody called him out and said, how are you feeling right now? How do you feel right now? And he's like, well, now I feel a little angry because I was interrupted. I'm afraid because I'm in this big group of guys and I'm talking, and now you're asking me to be vulnerable. And so it's just nice to see a group of guys that can do that and can say, we encourage you to speak out when you're afraid.
No, that's awesome. And I totally condone that and respect that. I know you and I had talked about, I have gone to a couple adult children of alcoholic meetings, and there's a lot of men there, and that was one of the first places that I'd been to with men feeling vulnerable and sharing stories and that kind of stuff. And it's really freeing and nice to be around, so I totally get it. And you and I have talked about your men group before, and I totally respect that about it. Because it is so hard to find in like normal everyday interactions outside of that little safe bubble.
Yeah.
And I guess I was coming across like I was putting down the idea of the breaking room. For me personally, I try and stay away from that kind of stuff. Like you do not jujitsu, Krav Maga. And I
not
have
as much as I would like to, but yeah.
Yeah. I have friends that do jujitsu, and I stay away from that kind of thing just because it feels like a slippery slope for me, not for other people. And I don't like physically hurting people. It makes me feel icky on the inside to even like think I might have hurt somebody.
Which is so interesting from the John that I knew, because you had no qualms about getting in somebody's face in a very threatening manner and trying to make them back down.
Yeah. The John that you knew is a person from the past that I have a hard time reconciling with.
Okay.
I, as a defense mechanism growing up, blocked out a lot of things. So I'm sure you could tell many stories where I'd be like, well, I don't remember that at all. But we would be interested to hear them. So
it's interesting. I actually have a picture of you in the hallway from the night that you and me and two other coworkers went out to Seven Stars.
Oh, gotcha. I remember that.
Okay, yeah. So,
yeah. The contents of that night, not so much.
Yeah, I would agree there too. That was a while ago, and yeah. But I remember it being a good time.
Yeah,
I remember the fondness of the memory. But
it was enjoyable.
But you say you have trouble remembering, reconciling, and even accepting who you were back then, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that's true for most of my young adult life. Up until very recently, had a hard time accepting the person that I was, and was very defensive and shut a lot of people out. Openly very nice to people and like caring, but didn't really let anyone get in close emotionally. And so I did a lot of things to lash out, and I had a lot of behaviors that I'm not super proud of at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like to the point, have you ever written something or like watched a previous video that you've done and you're just kind of like, ooh, that was me?
All the time. All the time.
That's what I mean by reconciling with that person. Like people will bring up like, this is who you were not even 6 months ago. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. That was me, but it's a hard time having that mental and emotional connection with that person. And I heard this fun fact listening to a podcast where like you will start to see changes in yourself if you try and do something within a couple of weeks to a month. but the closest person to you, say your significant other or your family or your best friend, doesn't notice that change for a couple of months, like 3 to 4 months, maybe even 6. And then the rest of the world catches up maybe 8 months to a year after that, and they're like, oh, hey, I noticed this change in you. And at that point, you're just kind of like, that was fucking forever ago. And I feel like that a lot now, or even a year ago, people are like, you seem a lot different. And it's like, yeah, I guess so. This is the person that I'm trying to be now. And when I shifted that, it was quite a bit ago, at least in terms for me.
I've heard that with, I've never heard it emotionally, but I have heard it for physical change.
Huh.
It takes 4 weeks for you to notice a change, 12 weeks for your closest friends to notice the change, and like a year for the world to notice a change. I think that might also be the driving force behind like Insanity and P90X and these kind of rapid change, dramatic workout programs that are supposed to make you look, super fit in 60 days.
Okay.
Which, spoiler alert, and I hope I don't offend too many Beachbody people, not a lot of people go from couch potato to six-pack abs in that 60 days. You usually have to start the program a couple times, and you do it one day and then you're too sore to do it the next day, so you do like maybe another day the next week. And so I don't think I've ever heard a success story of somebody who went from A to B like in that 60 days, from the day the program showed up and they started doing it to the day. But that's a rabbit trail. But I mean,
I was going to say, are you explicitly talking about the person that doesn't ever work out and then tries to become yoked in like a month or 2 months?
Yeah.
Rather than the person that, because I'm guessing you're going to get fit a lot faster than I'm going to get fit, because I didn't start, I never worked out in my life up until recently, but you've built a little bit of those muscles over time, and you've extensively built them for a long time, so even if you let it drop off the track now, you're going to be able to hop back into that fairly quickly.
Well, then we're getting into the metaphysical and the mental of working out. So I just did the first day of Insanity Max 30 yesterday.
Okay.
I'm not doing it today just because of scheduling. It would be too hard to squeeze that in, even the 30 minutes. Because the workout is one part, right? But the prep and then getting ready afterwards, and I do it here in my room, so I got to move everything around. It can be a process.
Yeah.
And that sounds like excuses.
No, it literally is a process.
Yeah. But it's if you've done a program like that or a high intensity, you know what to expect versus going in not knowing how you're going to feel at the end of it.
Yeah.
If you're going to get through it, what exercises you're even going to do. It's that mental self-discipline. So if I finish Max 30 and then somebody comes up to me and says, you should try this program, I can jump right into it. But right now, as it is, if somebody came up to me and ran up and said, we've got this program I want you to try, I would be so scared. I don't know if I'm going to make it through. And it's that confidence that going through a workout routine or a program, especially one that's designated 60 days or 90 days or whatever, really helps you to say, okay, I know in this process what's going to happen, or at least I have a start time and an end time. So,
do you want to scroll down the rabbit hole, or
go
elsewhere?
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious then of like, if you can recollect, because when did you start doing extensive workouts like that?
Well, so I've done those workouts. So I got really serious, I want to say 3 years ago, and did Max 30, 2 or 3 years ago. I had done Insanity, the first one.
Okay.
But that was the DVD series, off and on. I would do it like 2 or 3 days and be too sore. Or I would do it for like 2 weeks and be happy with the results I had, and then just stop, just drop off. I remember one time I was really dedicated. I did the whole first month, and you feel really good about yourself after the first month.
I bet.
You've accomplished what you've never accomplished before. It's really hard work. I'm not knocking month one of any of the workouts. And you start month two, and it's like starting over at day one of month one. You're floored by the first 15 minutes, which now that in hindsight I can say is a good thing, because I wouldn't want to do month two, day one, and feel like I conquered it. It's supposed to humble you. It's supposed to say, okay, you're at the top of your game, but now you have to go even further. You have to push past what you think you're comfortable with already.
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely one of those, like, sorry, I went way off on you.
No,
but yeah, seriously, is 3 years ago I did max 30 all the way through.
Okay. Have you tried anything like that before that point?
Insanity is similar to Insanity Max 30, obviously. Same person. I had been doing the Krav Maga training, so a pretty intense 25-minute workout in there. So that was what kind of appealed to me, is I don't want to spend an hour doing this high-intensity workout, but if it's half an hour, it's similar to what I'm already used to.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my question was, because it's really easy to forget the little baby steps that you do to build not just like your physical muscles, but your mental muscles to be able to do that. And I liked your analogy of in the 30-day or the 90-day insanity, having to restart after the first 30 days. I was curious as to how many little muscles you built leading up to being able to be like, all right, I'm ready to try this intense 30-minute workout, and I'm going to put my effort into like continuing it, which I would speculate is a lot harder for someone that hasn't set little goals for themselves leading up until that point. And then I was going to ask you if you feel like on top of that fact, depending on the kind of people that you know or like the people that you've worked out with in those really intense workouts, is it easier for you personally or the people that you know to have someone pushing you to do them? Or is it easier for you to be like, this is what I'm going to do for myself and then do it? And which one of those two fail?
So if I can boil that down from what I'm hearing is part of that comes from accountability. How do I keep myself accountable to keep doing the workouts?
Yes.
And it's interesting you brought that up, because I just posted a Instagram live video a few days ago about that. I used to, and you might have seen, take daily photos after doing Insanity. Just sweaty, drenched, my thoughts kind of just almost like encouraging myself to continue.
Okay.
And I had somebody, they were upset at the time, but it still sunk into me a lot deeper than it should have, that they were annoyed seeing those photos every day. And they said I was being kind of cocky and arrogant, and I forget the words that they said, but essentially it was cocky and arrogant and self-promoting, essentially. And so I stopped doing that. But I noticed as soon as I stopped doing that, my motivation behind working out went away. And it wasn't that I want people to see me working out. It was that, well, if I'm not posting this photo, then nobody's going to know that I did or didn't work out. So why not just not work out? Take the easy road and just not work out. And I'm not going to lie, one day I got ready to work out, and I just said, fuck it. I went in the shower and I hit myself in the shower and went, and that was it. And it was at that point that I realized I wasn't doing it for me so much as I was doing it to let the world know that I had done it.
Okay.
And so my motivations had to change.
Gotcha.
And so now when I work out, my motivations are I want to be healthy. And one of the things I tell myself is, like when I weightlift, I'm training so that when somebody needs me to help them, say, move or pick up a heavy object or a car falls on them, I can, well, if a car falls on them, I can try to help. But, but I had a friend who recently had to move everything out of her apartment and then everything back into her apartment because the carpets got messed up.
Gotcha.
And while moving stuff, I was telling myself, this is why we train. So I can help move these heavy items out of her house because nobody else could. Somebody else could have, but she called on me because she knew I had the muscles and the strength to lift said heavy items.
Is that enough retroactive motivation for you to do that as frequently as you do?
It is.
Congratulations.
And it's not, I've had to deep dive that and say, is this people pleasing? And for me, people pleasing is when you put yourself out or you're putting yourself at risk to help somebody else. I feel like humans naturally, most of us, want to help other people. But me helping her move wasn't me not taking care of myself, wasn't missing work, wasn't doing this, wasn't canceling a prior obligation. I was happy to do it, and it made me happy to help, and it helped her a lot. So there was no people-pleasing motivation behind it.
So would you say it was more of a I had it, and then I was like, wait. So a part of it is you do it because you like that story that you tell yourself of like, I'm the person that people can call to help with the difficult physical activities of certain things.
I would say yes, but it's not my sole intent.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the narrative of being the person that people can rely on. And that's where I get some of my self-efficacy is people rely on you for who you are.
Yeah.
But it wasn't I'm trying to control this narrative and I'm secretly this other person that really hates her, so I want her to think I'm her friend. No, it was nothing that it was one of those pure things, and that's where that's where I find my drive when I'm working out is look at this example of somebody who needed you and you were there because you put the time in to come and work out and get the strength that people can rely on later on.
Nice.
Yeah.
I respect that. I was just curious because with no judgment of why you were doing things, I'm always curious as the stories people tell themselves to like be motivated to do something, and I agree that people genuinely want to help other people more often than not. And if that's one of your reasons, that's awesome. I don't know if I know anyone else specifically that has that as part of their story of like, this is why I want to help people. So it was a genuine, curious question.
I love those.
I appreciate you sharing. Like, sometimes it's kind of weird to feel those where you're kind of like, I don't know, I never thought about that, but yeah. So at least I have those moments all the time, not that I say them outwardly. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And I don't know if that would necessarily work for me. Like, it's kind of hard for me to preemptively come up with something. I like that idea of you had the experience where someone needed your help, and that just adds more to why you're doing something. But I have always been a fairly skinny guy, and no one has ever been like, oh, hey, we're going to call John to help us do good things.
John, somebody did a car on somebody? We need your help.
We need your help. Go and run as fast as you can somewhere else. Do not lift that car. You're just going to get hurt. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, also in the selfish realm of working out, because there's several reasons, and you can have the one your one why as to why you're doing something, but it helps to have multiple to fall back on things.
Yeah.
And so the other one was working out, and especially now that I'm trying to bulk up, which is why I've got this nice winter coat. I got a nice winter belly.
Oh, didn't even notice.
Is that there's science behind it. You have to have calorie surplus in order to build muscles, right?
Yeah.
But I am recovering from essentially an eating disorder. It's not so much the mental eating disorder as somebody that I was involved with had trouble eating.
Yeah.
And so to try and help with that, would only eat when she was eating, or I would cook meals for us to eat together. Some of that social habit.
Yeah.
Because when left to it, she wouldn't eat. She would go the whole day without eating unless I was there to hold her accountable for it. And so I developed kind of a secondhand eating disorder. And so I was malnourishing myself. Because I would hold off on lunch so that way I could have lunch with her or dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
And so my body fell into that. And putting on muscle was extremely hard for me. And it still is. My body, for a long time, just wanted to hold on to the calories or just get them out as fast as I could. And so
Makes
my
sense.
appetite would go away. And so when I first started weight training, I would force myself to eat. And almost to the point where I would set an alarm on my phone.
Huh.
In 2 hours, you need to have this much protein, this much calories, everything like that.
Did you do that through normal food or like protein shakes?
I did start using a protein powder, and then Beachbody has a Shakeology, which I found to be the best one because it's not pure protein. It's got several different dense nutrients in it.
Okay.
That wasn't a plug for it or anything like that. It's just what I used. But mostly it was I had to re-educate myself about nutrition. So a lot of weight trainers will use, chicken, and that's all they eat is chicken.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I needed more fatty meat, so I would go with more porks and red meats and stuff like that.
I was going to let that spiral into completely different, but I guess getting back to the original point of all of that, do you feel like has contributed to your ability to do those more extreme or like willingness to commit and stay committed to the workouts? Because I don't think that I could personally do the workouts that you do. It would take me, if I was genuinely interested, probably 6 months to a year to be at a point where like I could sit down and do a 90-day workout program.
I tell everybody, even if you're higher up on the fitness scale, maybe you go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, or you do cardio, whatever. I always tell people, just try one day, and don't even try and do the full thing. Do 5 minutes. Whenever you, like, Insanity Max 30, it's called Max 30, not because it's max. It's you max out. You go as long as you can, and when you can't do one more rep of whatever exercise, that's your max out time. Then you just try and beat that next time.
Okay.
And so it's good because you'll see these guys in their phenomenal shape. And after like 4 minutes, they're dead, and they're writing it on the board. I maxed out at 4 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. So it's encouraging you not to try and be this Superman, unrealistic expectation. And so I always tell people you can try it, or like people who are on the sofa. I had one guy say, well, I've seen the result pictures, they're big and they're on the sofa and they're eating Cheetos, and then the next thing they're eating kale and they've got six-pack abs. Just get out there and walk.
Yeah.
30 minutes, one time a day. Like, get in that habit, and then there's that reward system of, I did it. I did the small thing, and I had the discipline to get up and do it. And then those little tiny muscles, like we were talking about, and the middle rewards. Okay, now I'm working my way up. Now I'm running for 2 minutes every day. Okay, now I'm now I'm trying to do insanity. Okay, I'm going back to running because I know I'm good at running.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I guess from my experience, people don't really view it as that because it's so easy to start doing that, being like, well, fuck it, I can't do the insanity today, I'm just going to go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you can consciously place that as like, that's me still doing something to progress forward, very little today, and like, in a bit of time, I'm going to be at a point where I can do the things that I want to do. And don't get me wrong, I don't talk to very many people about this, so I'm not an expert, but I feel like that is a really healthy way to do anything, regardless if it's working out, learning language, like learning a new skill, even just trying to make friends or whatever. Having those little skill builds and having those little rewards is really important to like achieving whatever sort of end goal, or even just like you start doing something and it allows you to transition or shift ever so slightly into finding that end goal or finding that reward that you didn't even know you were looking for. Which kind of goes back to the whole drinking thing. I started seeing a therapist a year before that, and started dealing with my anxiety and started dealing with the constant state of like, I call it the end of the world feeling. Someone says something and it literally could be something so little as like, I can't make it into work today, or like, I am so stressed out about this, and then pulling that end of the world feeling onto myself because I'm adopting their stress. I guess was my starting point for drinking, of like started working on myself, started working on my stress, allowed me to calm down enough to not like be medicating quite nearly as often. And I use the term medicating lightly because at the time I was like, I'm fucking tired, I want to drink, not even knowing that's what I was doing. And would have a glass of wine or two a night. And then some nights would have more than that, depending on if I was with friends or whatnot. But even just doing that snowballed into a year later being able to, one, admit where I had things that weren't going the way that I wanted, and was stubborn enough to be like, this isn't what I want in my life, I'm not doing this anymore, which is pretty much how I do most of the big changes in my life. It's like I see something I don't want, and I cut it out. So it's funny to look back on because I literally have not thought of that until today. But I think that was a big contributor to stopping drinking.
There's an exercise that I learned from a podcast that was it was based for fear, but it could be used for, I feel like, most of the negative emotions. Shame, anxiety, is you ask yourself, and then. So, for a long time, my fear was my wife will leave me, and then I won't have anyone to have sex with, and then I'll feel lonely, and then I'll start being a recluse, and then I won't have a job, I won't have a way to pay rent, and then I'll end up on the street, homeless, and by myself. And as soon as I realized that was the like driving factor behind my fear, I thought, well, then I'll just keep working, and then I won't end up homeless, and I'll make sure to tell people how I'm honestly feeling so they don't go running away from me, they'll actually reach in more. Okay, I don't need to be afraid of being single at that point. And so it was like I would use that periodically through this last year of like, okay, I'm really anxious about this situation. What happens if it goes bad? And then, and I follow it all in, and I go, I'm not anxious about that because I'm anxious about this thing over here, but so far away is the thing that I'm creating anxiety for.
Nice. I think that's a really powerful tool. I don't know, because I'm assuming you listen to a lot of self-help podcasts or just improvement things in general, and you pick up things here and there. Have you heard an emotion, like a strict emotion, without any thoughts feeding into it, lasts on average about 90 seconds.
Mm. So, like, if you're feeling afraid or terrified, there's no logical thoughts feeding it?
Not even no logical thoughts feeding it. It's that feeling can persist and last for minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, the more thought that you feed it. And to me, that and then situation is not directly feeding the fear. Mm-hmm. You're subverting your thoughts away from the thing that was causing you the anxiety. And by the time you reach a logical conclusion, one, you're working your prefrontal cortex and stepping out of that emotion brain. Mm-hmm. And two, you are giving it that time buffer to be like, okay, and that's resided a little bit. Not to say that you can't just think about the thing right away again and feel that first rush of fear or anxiety or whatever. But I think that's a really powerful exercise to like logically work through something and let that emotion dissolve in a appropriate time.
Yeah. It's interesting how much in the past year I developed. I used to acting on emotion sounds weird because it wasn't like I was an irrational guy. Yeah. But I let my emotions just kind of carry me through the moment. If I was sad, I was sad. If I was happy, I was happy. And in this last year, I've let my logical brain kind of take over in the driver's seat. And the emotions are giving directions, but my logic is deciding whether to take them or not.
That's really awesome. Mm-hmm. And to not discredit yourself at all, like something really hard to do. Oh, yeah. That takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of just being aware to start and then using that mental energy to try and affect that emotional state is something that's even more challenging. Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for that. And
it's just so interesting because I know some people who they will say, I'm feeling this, and I'll go, why? Or what are you going to do about it? And I don't know. To me, for a long time, I just had to push through that because it was, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? If I was in your shoes, I would have this scenario and this scenario and this, and I would be thinking about these things. I would know instantly what to do, and it kind of really, to that point where I was like, not everybody is at the stage where they let their logic and their emotions kind of feed into their conscious at the same time. It's usually one or the other. I'm not a boast of how super advanced I am.
Yeah, no, I would say that that's a good observation. And people internalize things differently as well. Mm-hmm. Like where have you taken any personality or psychology, personality tests, that kind of stuff?
I took the Briggs test once, but I have qualms with that test just because who I am today is not who I was 2 years ago. Actually, two of my friends are celebrating their 1 year anniversary today, and I can say emotionally, mentally, spiritually even, I'm in a way different place than I was on that day. Yeah. And so I know my letters would be completely different than that. Mine would be completely different than that person.
Have you tried? I thought the same thing and got the same exact.
To be fair, I haven't taken it since about a year and a half ago.
I completely agree with that thought train, and that was my thought train as well. Of like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. And I took them years apart and got the exact same result. The Myers-Briggs is more of a temperament than a personality test.
Okay.
And was based off of the Jungian theory of you're born with certain tendencies and temperaments, and they persist with you for your entire life. I don't know how much I necessarily agree with that, but that's where that was stemmed from. And I really hope that I got that right. For anyone that is much more into Jung's theories than I, and I apologize. But there is a test that gives you like your scale of how high you are on openness, how high you are on neuroticism, and like extroversion, introversion. And I was more curious if you had taken something like that specific test actually, because much like you, I do have those neurotic thoughts as well, where like it makes me feel calmer to work all that out.
Yeah.
And not everybody's like that. And it's hard for me to relate to those people. And it's like, how do you not like check this off before you're like, okay, I can breathe.
Yeah.
But not everybody's like that.
I think that's something, kind of going back to how alcohol versus age, it's something you kind of pick up, I think, in the work environment. Something that I noticed in, let's say, Piece of My Heart, way back when. The management style for different supervisors was changed dramatically throughout the day. We had somebody who was very relaxed.
Yeah.
And they worked well with people who were relaxed but knew what needed to get done.
Yeah.
If they worked with somebody who was anxious and knew, they're going to have a bad time. But then there were also managers who were by the book, check off things, this needs to get done, that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And they didn't always work so well with more relaxed people of, I've been here for forever, it's going to get done when it gets done.
Yeah.
So it's something you pick up in the work world of playing off of who has what kind of emotional state and management style and personality that works well with yours. And how do you adjust your style day by day to work with those people?
No, I agree. I think that the work analogy is the easiest one to use, because more often than not, you're spending your personal time with people at work, and then your significant other, and then your friends and your family. But the people at work get to see you more often than the people you're closest to. If you're working a normal 9 to 5, or you're working an 8, 10, 12-hour day. Which is actually, when I first became a manager, like, because I had a hard time wrapping my brain around that, and I don't even think I knew how to admit that to myself. I just like was trying to figure out why people were acting differently. They've just written so many books, and so many people do so much stuff on how other people interact while working.
Yeah.
And outside of working, like in personal life, but because most people work and have a job, at least in the United States, it's a very easy resource to go and like sift through. And so being able to utilize work as an example for that is really easy. And part of what I enjoy about my job is being able to not say, oh, this person is having some friction with this person, I'm not going to put them together. It's, I'm going to take those two people because they're having friction and have them utilize their strengths to make the situation better. So you take the person who's laid back and relaxed to calm down the manager that's stressed out and has to have everything done by the books, and you take the person that's stressed out and by the books and use the calm person to like reassure them that everything is going to get done, which is a tricky game. Not to minimize it by calling it game. It is everyday life for certain people.
Yeah. And then on top of that, being the person above those people who can be kind of the gel that gets them to mesh.
Yeah.
So that viewers aren't grinding against each other as they both have these different personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird world people live in where they have to kind of balance all that. And there's a lot of people that don't. They just, you'll walk into a startup and it's all chillax people.
Yeah.
And a couple of managers up at the top stressing about it if everything's going to work out with these chill people. Or you walk into a place and it's all uptight, all by the book, no fun. And it's almost a generational thing that we're seeing, I feel, where the previous generation was more of the uptight, get it done, hurry, 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 hurry. And because of that style has been beat to death, we're going more into this relaxed kind of feel. And, you know, the Facebooks and the Googles were, come and have fun at work, and now we need to get this done, let's hurry up and do it. But also don't forget, like, mental health days. And so I feel like as a society, we're trying to find that kind of gooey center that's not too rigid and it's not too relaxed.
I agree that there are a lot more people trying to find that center. I don't know how much I agree with the generational gap thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a rule of thumb, and my gut instinct is to always disagree with people on that, of like, I'm going to generalize something really big right now.
Oh yeah, I understand it's a huge generalization. But it is, as I feel, it's just a,
sorry, I didn't mean that in a second.
Go for it. It's just this kind of, I don't know how to put it, it's just the surface level of what I see.
Yeah.
And I understand completely that it's surface level, and therefore, if I dig probably even just a layer deeper, I'm going to see that I'm completely wrong.
I mean, it could be completely right.
Yeah.
My general response to things like that is, no, sorry, not going to accept that.
Yeah.
And it helps me in certain situations, and it hinders me in others.
Mm-hmm. So what do you say to because this recently came up between me and another friend, the 5 closest people to you are the people that feed your personality?
I know that is a emerging field of thought that people are getting all psyched up about. I think that there's validity in it.
Okay.
I don't know, like, I haven't done a lot of my own research, or I haven't listened to a lot of things to be able to have like a firm standpoint, but I know that without even needing to, the people that you surround yourself and the people that you decide to spend time with have an effect on your life. And I think that can be a good thing and a bad thing. So I agree that I think that the 5 closest people to you have that effect, but I also disagree with the fact that, or well, I guess I would have to rephrase that as, are those the 5 closest people to you by choice, or are those the 5 closest people to you because of proximity? So, like, the closest person that I'm with is going to be a couple of my supervisors and my significant other. I don't choose my supervisors by choice. Like, I chose them to do the job. I chose them to run the store. I trust them to do all of that, and I adore them. But it's not like I'm spending all of my free time with them. I go to work. These are the people that are suited for the job that I want. They're the people that support me. They're the people that I support. And do they have an effect on me? Yeah. Just like they have the option, like, they could leave if they wanted to, but I'm their boss, and they're going to have to interact with me. So by proximity, I have an effect on their life. And that's actually something that I adopted when I first became a manager, was you have to know the impact, and you have to address it and handle it properly. Like, I didn't want to be the person that was abusing that. I didn't want to be a person that was being a negative impact on their life. So I guess my semantics part would be defining close.
Gotcha. I would say closeness is, how I define closeness personally is people you are comfortable being vulnerable with. You don't wear a mask, you don't have a shield. Yeah.
I like that, and I can hope that that's how I would act with those people. But I also can't say that even when I don't have my mask, like even when I do have my mask up, that those people around me haven't affected me. And that might just be my own insecurities from growing up and my susceptibility to be persuaded and like adopt how other people are thinking and feeling. So I would hope that the people that I chose to be the most open and vulnerable with have a significant effect on me. Otherwise, why am I being open and vulnerable with them?
Mm-hmm.
I have trust issues, and I would be like, if I'm going to be open and vulnerable with you, like, you better have a fucking good impact on my life. Otherwise, I will keep you at an arm's distance.
Gotcha.
But that just might be where I'm at right now in my life. And I would hope that one day I'm just able to be open and vulnerable with everybody. And then, in that regard, choose who I let impact me and choose who I let shape and mold me.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I've noticed the top 5 rule at least works. I've noticed it influences me highly.
Yeah.
My best friend, who I don't see often, but I know his morals and values are in line with mine.
Okay.
My godfather, who I see fairly often. I've picked up personality traits and the way he processes information. Close friends, my roommate for one. My sense of humor is kind of influenced by those people, and
definitely.
My mental state, I feel, is more in my hands as of late. Where I'm the person who's controlling the inputs and the thought process, and even the emotional state of you've heard of fake it until you make it, or you can choose to feed an emotion, and so
the fake it until you make it bugs me, but has a lot of merit and a lot of value.
Yeah, well, things like I am choosing to be happy today because I wake up almost in a funk, and I've done that enough times to realize what gets me out of that funk is I chug 2 big glasses of water, I take a deep breath, put on a comedy album or like Stephen Colbert YouTube videos, and I'll do the dishes, and I'll force myself to smile, and before I know it, I feel like I'm having a great day.
Yeah.
And so I've hacked my brain enough to know this is what I need to do in order to have a good day. If I just feed those emotions like being sad, I'll go through the whole day. I'll lay down. The second my head hits the pillow, I'll go, that was a horrible day.
I completely understand. I love the part where you said I've hacked my brain, because those are all literal brain hacks to get you out of that funk, and I completely understand waking up in that funk and having to have a set of things you can do to kind of take yourself out of that.
Yeah.
And that is where I agree with the fake it till you make it part. And I think that unless you give that caveat that you just did, it's really easy to be like, I'm going to get up and tell myself I'm the best today. I'm going to do all of this stuff. I'm going to look confident. And that's where you get imposter syndrome setting in. Where like you go into work and you're like, they're going to find out that they all know. Yeah. So I think that, like I said, I have a mixed bag of feelings about fake it till you make it. It can be highly helpful, and done in the right way is wonderful. But much like everything else done in the wrong way can create some really bad internal anxiety and not feeling worthy, and like knowing that you're faking it, even if you faked it for a year or two, like that part gets like, they're still gonna fucking find out someday, is something that I would much rather address to begin with than like tell someone, oh yeah, just go ahead and fake it till you make it, and then let them run with it how they want. Yeah.
But I've heard, the fake it till you make it, act confident, and you'll almost trick yourself into being confident. But yeah, there is that imposter syndrome that I never really took into account. The only time an example I can think of imposter syndrome is I have a friend who is a fantastic guy and one of the smartest guys I know.
Yeah.
But he works for a company and he was afraid talking at this company that he was going to talk about engineering stuff, and he doesn't have an engineering background.
No.
And he was feeling like, I have imposter syndrome because they're all going to find out I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think fake it till you make it is, you're doing something that you have in his mind at least, a right to talk about.
Okay.
And what I'm talking about is more the emotional, just tricking yourself into, okay, you're going to be happy today.
Yeah.
I don't want to be happy today. Well, you're going to be happy. Oh, okay, maybe I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I know a lot of people use like meditation in the mornings or motivational videos or things like that. And I know there are things that I have to avoid in the morning. Like I'll wake up and immediately want to just get on my phone and scroll through Facebook.
Yep.
And I do that, and 2 hours have passed. I didn't work out. Dishes aren't done.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to wear that day. And so I feel myself want to reach for that phone, and it's just like, go for the water.
Nice. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's why I said I like the term that you used, hack your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like literal hack of your brain to get it going in the right direction, because the early mornings for me at least are awful. And I have a hard time doing that little bit of rewiring to like be in the place that I want to be.
You want to know where hack your brain came from?
Yeah.
Not from a guru or motivational speaker or TED Talk or anything like that. John Raynaud did this awesome movie. It was so bad it was good.
What was it called?
I want to say Johnny B or something like that. And it was the character's name, which is always a bit like, unless you're, and I say that, but then immediately the voice in the back of my head says John Wick was a good movie.
I liked John Wick.
Oh, they're making a third, so enough people liked it.
Yeah.
But Ice-T was in this movie, and it's all about Keanu Reeves played a guy with like a storage unit in his head in the future, and these were like messengers, and he was like, the mob would download a whole bunch of data into his head, and his job was to go drop off essentially his head to the thing, and he put too much data in it, so it started to leak into his actual brain. And by the end of it, they had this psychic dolphin that was great, gonna hook up to his brain, and Ice-T kept saying, I could tell they were really trying for the sound bite of it, like this was gonna be the turn of the phrase, of you've got to hack your mind. And so he, like, there's all this technical stuff and a dolphin swimming through his head, and Ice-T's voice going, hack your mind.
I'm sure that was every bit as corny and awful as it sounds.
Oh, it was so good. And they had the Terminator knockoff that was chasing them around. It was,
I am potentially interested in watching it just for the scene of a psychic dolphin swimming through Keanu Reeves' mind.
I'm going to have to find it and definitely send you that scene. It was such a bad... Do you have any, like, guilty pleasure movies? They're so bad that they're good. Like, a lot of people think The Room.
I mean, my dad used to buy movies all the time. We had a giant bookcase of hundreds of DVDs. So I have seen a lot of really bad movies. But I think the one that tops mine is, you ever see Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
Yes. That one I feel was made.
It was made to be bad. I have a hard time sitting through like movies that weren't made to be bad because they make me cringe internally.
Oh yeah,
and like so I like comedies that you know are going to be shitty and are just shitty in general. But movies like that where they're like, this is going to be great, and it just ends up being an awful movie, but it's so awful it's great. I don't know off the top of my head actually if I have one.
There's Kevin Smith does a podcast called Hollywood Babylon, and one of the segments is exquisite acting, and it's when an A-list performer gives like a B-list acting, and they had a scene from, I love quoting this all the time, to myself, nobody else, and it's Hercules, the show, and I guess the actor, it's the same actor who played Hercules, but he's playing his evil twin, and he gets...
Hercules from the show or from the show? Okay. I haven't actually seen any of the show.
Yeah. It's an older one. He's playing his like own evil twin, and he gets transported to a planet, and the script says this isn't my planet, parentheses, disappointed, as in, that's the emotion that's necessary, and he read it. This isn't my planet. Disappointed! And they put it in the show. Fabulous. It's almost like we don't have enough film. We're going to have to go to tape one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have those, like, horrible movies that just, like...
Yeah.
The Room, I think there's a few
I guess not a movie, but Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, yeah.
I used to watch a lot as a kid because it was always on, and that's one of those, like, I can't remember any one specific scene from it other than just loving Xena and her little, like, or whatever,
and that's sitting around with the blade.
Yeah. Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah. I can think of pretty much any Nicolas Cage movie.
Really?
Con Air.
I apparently have a soft spot for Nicolas Cage then.
Face Off.
Enjoyable.
I want to take his face off. Like, just watching him, I'm like, you're like Hollywood elite. How did that happen?
There's a nostalgia to that, though, and, like, when you're not cringing, just that happy moment of, like, this person's doing a really shitty job, and I love it. And I'm also one of those people where, like, people are like, that movie was awful, and I was like, I loved every minute of it.
There's Jumper. Did you ever see Jumper?
The one with the guy that teleports?
Yes. Hayden Christensen, like, first thing. I love that movie.
It was great.
And everybody, phenomenally, everybody was like, no, that was horrible. It was a bad movie, bad concept. I was like, I really liked it. Samuel L. Jackson's pretty decent.
I got your back on this. I loved that movie. Yeah. I probably watched it 3 or 4 times. But apparently I am a sucker for bad cinema.
I mean, it's a special place in our hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not bad cinema if you enjoy it, right?
I agree. Yeah. But most people shit all over it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, like, I don't like movies that are popular. Save the Marvel movies, because everybody goes see them, and I enjoy the Marvel movies. But there are a lot of movies out there, people, you have to see this movie. And I'm like, I'm not going to, because you just looked it up way too big. But Ex Machina, the one about the AI.
I really like that. Yeah, I'm mad at this because everyone, like, if everyone loves it, I still like it, and everyone hates it, I'm like, I still liked it. I still really liked it.
I enjoyed it. I watched it for free when it came out on HBO Go, and I was like, this is a good movie. Don't see what the big hype was about. This was enjoyable. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but people were like, is she bad? Is she good? Is it so many questions? And I was like, I sat there and I enjoyed myself, which is what I want out of a movie.
Yeah.
So, Solo, a lot of people hated Solo, and I went, that's probably one of my favorite Star Wars films.
Really? Yeah, I actually have not seen it, so I have no input on it, but I understand you there, and I feel like that about a lot of movies, mainly just because, like, growing up, with my dad being an alcoholic, one of the safe places that we were able to do stuff was sit down and watch a movie and didn't have to worry about anything, and so I just have a fondness for zoning out and, like, getting sucked into a movie.
TV was my escapism.
Yeah.
That and video games.
Same.
But yeah, it was, my parents, non-alcoholics, but we didn't have a lot of spare money to go around, but we did have TV.
Yeah.
So I could sit there and watch the TV and get lost in those stories and that versus sitting around going, are we going on vacation this year or what's going on? Yeah. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to leave it on that note, but I do have to get to work, unfortunately.
All right.
And we'll have to do another one of these because I feel like family topics are an entirety in themselves.
They can be unwrapped in several different ways.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah, I'm bad at planning things.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I have to go do it today and cut a chunk of time out. So I'm glad I came.
That's fair. All righty, sir. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Everybody, this was the Smash Beat Podcast with, you want to say?
John Raynaud.
So there you go. And like, view, subscribe, do all that stuff.
Do all that stuff.
Let me know if you like this or not. That's the big thing. Is I have a lot of views, but not a lot of comments, and I'm wondering if people are hating this or what's going on.
You definitely let Ashby know if you like this or not. Probably not me. I don't know if I can emotionally handle this at that point. So, no, definitely comment and, let them know what's going on. It's invaluable feedback.
It is. All right, everybody. Thank you.